From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 407. Today's show is brought to you by Squarespace, Trade Coffee, and Capital One. My name is Myke and I have the pleasure of introducing Federico Viticci, who isn't here. So now I will introduce Stephen Hackett. Hi, Stephen.
Hello.
I figured we got to keep the thing, right? So Connected, is it connectedintro.com?
Connectedintro.com.
It says that I need to introduce Federico, but he's not here, so I figured I didn't want to mess it up by introducing you immediately, because then I feel like it's going to throw everything off.
Yeah, you can't break the rotation.
No.
It's just us. Federico had some stuff going on. He's good. He's okay. We talked to him earlier today.
To be fair to Federico, Stephen basically forced Federico off the episode this week for self-care reasons, which was good. I think Federico ended up just taking the time.
Yeah.
But I think without you, basically, like, what is... like bullying, but you're being nice to someone. Like, what is that? What would you call that?
Let me just read what I sent him. So this is from yesterday. I said, I've got some stuff in the document. Federico, are you taking the week off? I think you should if you want. Even if you're free to record, you should sleep.
But then it started after last week's episode.
I've been building the case for a while because he's busy this week with some other stuff. And I was like, you don't need to worry about us. Like, you go do what you need to do. And again, everything's fine. It's all good stuff. But we can handle the show for you. You know? Yep. This is what we do. There's three of us.
Good,
we can do this sometimes. Y'all have done it for me. We've done it for you. It's no big deal.
Yep.
I do miss him, though.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I would miss you if you're gone.
Yeah, whatever. You don't say that. Usually when I'm gone, the two of you just make fun of the fact that I'm not there and then move on. You never say you miss me, you know? Maybe I should just leave now. You do it on your own. See if you miss me then. You miss me then.
The next 90 minutes, I will be talking about OpenDoc. Everybody buckle in.
You know, isn't it kind of incredible that we've never had to do that, like one of us? Like,
no, that's not true. I did an episode 2, it was some big round number, 200 or 250 or something. It was me and John and underscore.
Yeah, but that's not you on your own, is it? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but no single voice podcasts are bad unless they're like 3 minutes long. At least in the way that we do it, right? If it's some like mystery thing that you're building up, that's different. But
yep,
I'm not going to talk about computers for an hour and a half alone. I mean, I could.
You could.
But it'd be the end of the show.
I feel like there's a potential members episode in there somewhere.
Maybe. I could just discuss the various versions of beige Apple used over the years.
It's just a Stephen lecture, you know?
We kind of have one later in the show.
Can't wait.
Last topic.
Yep, can't wait.
Let's start with some follow-up, though.
Follow-up.
The question that has been burning in everyone's mind is slate gray still stuck in your spotlight on your phone?
No, but I got a new one.
Ooh, what is it?
Just the letters TES.
Tess.
I have connected. This is what it says now. Connected starts at 17:30. Well, it started. Sorry. And then there's a Zoom link. Says join connected, and then there's also a turn on do not disturb option, which those are really great. I think they're great. And then I've got a link to general settings and Tess. I miss Slate Gray, to be honest.
General settings. It's a pretty high rank for a setting. One day it could be like a kernel setting.
That's good.
See, kernel works on a couple different levels there because it's like a military thing and a computer thing.
Colonel Panic. He's always concerned about something.
Colonel Panic. Colonel Panic at the Disco.
So I have been running the notifications count option that Federico mentioned last week. That's in iOS 16. So this is where now it just gives you a little, basically at the bottom of the home screen, like a little number, basically, of how many notifications you have. And you can tap it and it will show you the most recent ones. And it's only counting the most recent ones. And then if you minimize those again, that goes away until there's new ones that come in again. I love it. This is a great setting.
It is really good. I feel like my whole lock screen notification situation is kind of bad right now. I think part of it is due to the new design. Like, I feel like I lose things because they sort of fall off the bottom, if that makes sense. And I don't know. I don't know if I need fewer things to go to the lock screen, or maybe I need to try this.
What do you mean?
This minimal version? Like,
what are you losing?
Because say like I get a reminder of like, hey, do this at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
I feel like in the old version where notifications took up more space on the screen, that wouldn't get lost in the other notifications I have coming in. It was like easier to scan what I had, missed over the last little bit of time. But now, because you really only see 2 or 3, and then they stack up and like fall off the bottom, I don't know. Maybe I just have an internalized need to swipe up and see more of them. Something about it that like I see fewer of them, and that's not great the way that I've had my phone set up in the past.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what's happening there for you, but I understand what you're saying. But I don't get that.
So I don't know.
Do you spend a lot of time like pulling on the notification thing to see what's under there?
Never.
What?
I need to internalize that a little more.
Well, there you go then. You got to internalize that. That's what's going on for you.
So there's count, stack, and list. Maybe I'll try list for a while. I had it on stack.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where, okay, so in iOS 16, settings, notifications, display as, you have count, stack, and list. There is no explanation about what those things do or look like. And there really should be. Like, how do you know what those are?
Yeah, because I tried turning on the count one for a while, and it didn't seem to do anything. But it wasn't until there was a new notification that I realized what count meant. Right? So yeah, I agree. But again, this is beta, right? Like I could imagine they'll put it at the bottom of that screen, show you what it looks like. They've done that kind of stuff in notifications before. Like maybe it's just not, they just haven't built that part out yet because it is a bit odd.
A little bit strange.
But I do really like it. I like this feature a lot. I'm a big fan.
We just celebrated World Emoji Day.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday, Jeremy. This is when draft emoji are released. People always ask, are you going to play the Jeremies? Which, if you're not familiar, the Jeremies are the game where we show Federico pictures of new emoji and he tries to guess the names to usually hilarious outcomes. We will play that game whenever Apple announces their artwork for this. Yep. So the Emojipedia artwork is draft artwork. It's meant to be an example. And some of Apple's artwork usually ends up looking like Emojipedia's to a degree.
Yep.
Sometimes it doesn't, just depends. But whenever Apple announces theirs, probably this, maybe like in the later this year, early next year, we will play the game.
I've lost track because I know it's changed, like of when we will expect it. Like I can't remember anymore. What I will say, dear listener, if you're one of the people who's like, when do they play that game? Don't worry, because Steven didn't know either.
And now it's in the Google Doc for all time.
Yeah. Steven texted me and asked me, do we do this now? I'm like, nope. Because I remember having thought this way sometime last year and I checked it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we just do this when actually Apple releases their imagery as well. Like, so we have to wait for that part to occur. And that can sometimes be before it reaches iOS, or maybe it's at the same time, or whatever. And it's when they release the full set. So basically, we're always waiting for Emojipedia to publish their article of like, here's all the emoji, which they always have been first in the past.
Yeah, and Federico stays sequestered from all emoji news. I noticed John linked to this news on Mac Stories. Federico can't touch it.
You know that could just be like Federico logging in as John, right? There's also a possibility.
Yeah, but I like to think that our friend has full integrity when it comes to this.
Yep, he does take these things very, very seriously. So
he does.
There's some weird ones in this proposal, but you can go and look at those for yourself.
Yeah, we can't really talk about it.
Odd choices in here, as there always is.
There's fewer and fewer, things to do as time goes on. So they're going to get stranger.
I guess.
He's definitely not going to know what some of these are.
No.
I don't know what some of these are.
No.
If you're wondering why we do this on July 17th, why is World Emoji Day when it is, I wrote a piece over on 512 last week about the reason is July 17th and the reason the calendar emoji has July 17th. It's because that was the day in 2002 that Apple introduced iCal, and it shipped later that year, but its icon used July 17th as an Easter egg from when it was announced. Just like how on iPhone imagery from Apple, the time is always set to 9:41. That's about the time in the keynote when Steve Jobs announced it. This is kind of like a fun Easter egg. And of course, now the icon changes with the current date all the time, but some history there. So I wrote that up and shared it. Happy World Emoji Day, everybody.
Yeah, because obviously the next part is like the first emoji that Apple made for the calendar also included that date on it. Mm-hmm. So then when Jeremy was looking to celebrate and create World Emoji Day, chose that date.
Yep.
And since then, a lot of third-party manufacturers have changed their calendar emoji to include the date on it, which I think that kind of stuff is very funny.
Yeah, me too.
Because now they've been dragged along because Apple wanted to do it this way.
I got some news for you, Myke.
Okay.
Relay FM merch store is back.
Wait, what?
Do you remember in Titanic and the lady's like, it's been 82 years? That's how I feel about the Relay merch store.
Uh-huh.
But we got shirts, baby. We got 4 awesome new shirt designs.
These are network shirts. You might be thinking, people sell shirts all the time. Shows sell their own shirts. And Relay FM, the global brand, as we are now, I just decided, we now have our own permanent merch store, which you can go to relay.fm/store, and you will find that we have 4 shirts that will be on-demand printing, so you can go in whenever you want. There's no rush. There's no 3 weeks and then they're going to be gone forever. You just go in, you order one you want, and it will be shipped to you by our friends at Cotton Bureau.
It's fantastic. I've been corrected at saying that it's 84 years. My apologies to the Titanic.
You know who would have corrected you?
Federico.
Because he friggin' loves that movie.
He is big into Titanic.
I think I heard him say recently he has or is waiting to get the Blu-ray.
Wow.
And he's super excited about it. I don't even think I've seen that movie.
What?
Yeah. I think I saw it once a long time ago. I don't remember it.
I saw it in theaters as a kid. I don't think my parents were aware there was nudity in it.
Yeah, no, I don't think that was appropriate. Just for a bunch of reasons, I'm not sure it's appropriate. I saw Jurassic Park in theaters.
The guy gets eaten off the toilet.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
I actually spent a lot of the movie facing the other direction because I couldn't handle the dinosaurs. But I could see in the projection, I could see what was going on, so I could see it very small, which was much more manageable for me than seeing it big on the screen. Big Money Hackett.
It's me.
How's your Kickstarter going?
It's good. As of this recording, we have 15 days left, so we're halfway through.
Who's this we? Who's this we?
The collective 811 people who have backed it so far.
Oh, you consider it like it's all of your project.
We.
812 now.
The whole world. 812 people so far. Thank you all. Mm-hmm. 15 days to go. So we're in the getting ready to be in the back half of the campaign, which is exciting. I this week shared the artwork for the stickers. So our friend Jelly, who does some other stuff for us, if you've seen the stickers we used for the podcastathon last year, of the Myke and Steven heads, he did all that artwork. He did the stickers for last year's campaign, and people loved them. So we did 4 more for the campaign this year. There's a trash can Mac Pro with a broom next to it, as if it's an actual trash can, which is hilarious.
Well, and it has a lid.
It has a lid. It's so good. There's a 20th anniversary Mac, clamshell iBook, and then a very happy first generation iPod being snuggled by its own headphones.
They're very good. Jelly's very talented.
Yes, they're so awesome. So yes, if you have been on the fence, you only got 2 weeks left. So hop on in. The water's fine.
Man, Kickstarter campaigns, they last so long, right? That feels like a lot, emotionally to handle.
It does not feel that way to me.
30 days. It's just a lot of time to be just checking the thing. Oof.
That's true. It's opening on my phone and my Mac just all the time. But
yeah,
time's ticking away, and I'm hard at work in the background getting stuff ready. So very excited.
Mm-hmm.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. You stand out with a beautiful website, you can engage your audience with really cool email campaigns, and you can sell anything, products, services, content. Squarespace has you covered for all of it. That online store is perfectly suited for physical and digital products. They have all the tools you need to start selling online, manage the payments, everything is there. And if you are like me, and sometimes when you're looking at SEO stuff, it's confusing or overwhelming, the built-in SEO tools of Squarespace it's all integrated, it's all in one place, and they come with useful guides to help you maximize your prominence among search results, which is awesome. And those SEO tools also apply to their email campaigns, so you can see exactly how your emails are doing out in the real world. I love building on Squarespace. I've built a lot of stuff there over the years. Last year, we sold a magnet for connected listeners. I built a Squarespace site. I used the Squarespace store for that. It was all really simple to set up. I had it done basically in an afternoon, and it looked great, and it worked perfectly. So if you've got a project you're looking to build, head on over to squarespace.com/connected. There you can get a free trial with no credit card required. So when you're ready to launch, you want to use the offer code CONNECTED. That'll get you 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Once again, that's squarespace.com/connected and the code CONNECTED to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for the show. Our thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring Connected and supporting all of Relay FM.
I'm hopping mad, Stephen.
Oh no.
I'm hopping mad. My picture-in-picture is broken on YouTube.
Oh, that's the worst.
And I know how this happened, and it makes me even more hopping mad. So I opted into the beta feature that they had a number of months ago, right? You could, if you were a premium subscriber, you could opt into a beta and you'd get picture-in-picture. And that beta has stopped, but it just seemed like everybody, well, by and large, it seemed like people that had opted in, they just kept the feature.
Yeah, that's how it worked for me.
A couple of days ago, there was like a thing popped up in my YouTube. It's like, try out this new beta feature. And it was some nonsense, but I was like, all right, I'll go see what it's about. Just me looking at that took away the picture-in-picture. They didn't tell me this, but it just stopped working. And doing some searching on Twitter, which is where I always go for these kinds of things.
Yes.
It basically said that people would they tried out a new one of these beta features and it removed picture-in-picture. So, and this is the second part that annoys me is Google has announced that they are rolling out picture-in-picture for all premium subscribers starting July 11th. Why is it why not just enable it? Like, what's going to happen?
It's not like it's extra server load to have picture-in-picture.
Yeah, it changes nothing to them. Just enable the feature.
Yeah, it's bad.
I don't know why. Like, so a server in the Discord is saying you can enable it again by disabling the other beta that you're enrolled in. Tried that, doesn't work. So now I'm just like every day checking my settings to be like, is today the day that they're going to add this setting back to my account? And no, and I've tried. Sometimes you can force these things a little bit by like deleting the app and reinstalling. Right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I don't know why, but I've had this happen with some apps before. Like it seems to like push you forward through the process. But no, that has not worked, and I'm really annoyed about this because I use it so much. Like I use this feature so much. And I find it very frustrating now that when I'm watching a video and I want to go, like, want to have it on in the background, I always still want to be able to very quickly access the video, even if I'll hide it. You know, sometimes I hide it, and then something happens in like a podcast that I'm listening to. I consume a lot of podcasts on YouTube. It's just what I do now. I want to be able to tap it, you know, and see what has happened that people are laughing about. And I can't because now I have to open up the YouTube app again. It's just very annoying. And I just don't get it, YouTube. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I don't know why it took them so long to put this feature in the first place. Like, and now I don't understand why they're taking this, as they call it, very slow rollout of this feature to premium subscribers.
It's so frustrating. Yeah. It was weird that it was in a beta for premium. Like, it's annoying. It's a great feature.
I understand why they're giving it to premium because one of their issues is like the ads, right? Because like I can imagine it's not as easy to serve ads with the picture-in-picture thing. So if you just give it to premium people, they don't get ads anyway. So like, fine, it works, right? Yeah, it's just really, I find it very frustrating.
It's a bummer.
So like, I don't know how long it's going to take before I get access to this feature, and I'm finding it really annoying, and I'm hopping mad about it.
You have a MacBook Air.
I do have a MacBook Air.
And I want to talk to you about it. I know you've only had it a couple of days.
Yep, a day and a half.
I would love to hear your thoughts as they are so far.
Okay, so I have a midnight M2 MacBook Air that has an 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of SSD storage. Maybe when you hear me describe that, you realize I didn't pick this. This is what Apple sent me, because this is not the configuration that I would choose. I don't know why they chose to send me 8 gigabytes of RAM, but they did. But I got the 512 gigabytes SSD, probably so the storage would be fast. Because I have that thing with a 256 SSD. But it seems like they were very forthright when talking about that. Like, there were a bunch of reviews who mentioned it like having been confirmed by Apple that it's the same as the MacBook Pro. For a bunch of reasons, like the 256 is not worth it anyway. And this is another reason. Like 256 gigabytes of storage on a laptop it's not enough. And I know that it makes the computer a couple of $100 more expensive, but it's worth it. And now, at least with the universal memory system, even if you got the 8 gigabytes of RAM, if you had a bit of storage space left in that 512 gigabytes, you could do swap, right? So you could benefit from even if you had the lower RAM. So it really is worth getting this is a complicated machine to buy if you're going to get a 256.
It is. I think kind of the optimal setup is the base CPU and GPU, 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gig SSD. Like, that's kind of the base. I think that's makes it a livable machine, especially if you're, most people buying a machine like this, it's going to be around for a long time. And the 8 gigs and the 256, it's just not going to hold up, I don't think.
I'm happy they sent me Midnight because I wanted to see it. Because I was really intrigued by that color. And like I can confirm, like, it's covered in fingerprints, but I love the color. Like, and the fingerprints just does not bother me. I can't stand fingerprints on a screen.
That's the worst.
But I don't care about fingerprints on the outside of the computer. But it doesn't affect me in any way, really.
Yeah. How do you feel about the blue? Like, it in some lights, in some circumstances, it feels very blue, and in other times it doesn't. Like, do you like that sort of difference that it has?
I mean, I think the blue looks better than the silver, the gray, and the starlight. Like, in any way, right? If it looks blue, it looks better than them, and if it looks black, it looks better than them.
Yeah,
like, I think yes, the color does look different in different light, but so does space gray to me, though. Right? Sometimes it looks silver, and sometimes it looks like dark silver. Sometimes, like, because I have a space gray MacBook Pro, and very frequently I look at it and I don't know what color I own. Like, if I've forgotten, like, I look and I'm like, what color is this? Do I have silver or space gray? But yeah, so I've been using this machine in place of my MacBook Pro. So just as a refresher to people, I have a 14-inch MacBook Pro. That is my main computer. I put it in my bag, take it to a studio, take it home every day. I use it at home, not so much, but I do use it at home. If I'm going to do any work, then I'll grab it instead of using my iPad mini, which I use for basically everything else while I'm at home, like reading and video and all that kind of stuff. And then I use the MacBook Pro while I'm at the studio to do everything except recording and editing podcasts. So all of my other work, it is the computer that I spend the most time on easy throughout my day. I have replaced that with the MacBook Air and have quickly come to learn that the MacBook Air is a better computer for this than the MacBook Pro.
Because of the thinness and lightness?
The thinness and lightness. It is kind of incredible to me how different this machine feels to just move around. Like picking up, putting down, all that kind of stuff. It's really kind of incredible. Like I put it next to my MacBook Pro. The MacBook Air is slightly thinner than the bottom part of my MacBook Pro. So like if you open the MacBook Pro, right, you've got the screen and then you've got like what the keyboard deck is on and then like all of the rest of the machine, right? The closed MacBook Air is thinner than that part of my MacBook Pro.
Ridiculous.
Quite significant. And whilst it is still not as light as I want it to be, like I want like 12-inch MacBook kind of lightness, right? This machine is incredibly light. It feels, I mean, many people have said this, but it does feel more like an iPad than a Mac in its kind of thinness and lightness and its kind of movability. I am very taken by this computer. I've had it plugged into my studio display for the last couple of days, and I just did a migration from my MacBook Pro. And I mean, Migration Assistant's great. I still find these weird little things like Backblaze gets really upset.
It does,
because and I understand because like it thinks it's the same computer, and I think it does a good job where it freezes the backup,
and it walks you through how to fix it, which is
and it's very easy to fix.
Yeah, not a big deal.
I prefer they do that than it go wrong, right? And then I had a weird thing where I had to change a bunch of settings in Alfred to get it to search stuff properly again because it was thinking it was the other computer. It was kind of weird. But by and large, Migration Assistant is awesome. It's great. It works so good. And it's so fast now with Thunderbolt.
Oh, yeah.
So fast.
And SSDs on both ends, it rips.
Yeah. I think I was transferring, I think it's at 1,700 megabytes per second.
It's pretty
at
good.
one point. And so it moved everything real quick. Especially because I just uncheck Dropbox to move everything over. Because my Dropbox is online, right? Primarily. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, plus also, this has significantly less storage space than my MacBook Pro. I would not have been able to fit everything I had downloaded from Dropbox onto this computer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say. Other than that, it's the computer you would expect it to be, right? Trackpad's great, keyboard's great. The screen is perfectly fine. The biggest thing that I notice is the brightness. It is not as bright as my MacBook Pro. ProMotion stuff, I don't feel like I notice very much on laptops. I notice it on my phone the most. But yeah, I've been using it on my studio display with all of the apps open that I would usually have, which is lots of apps for me. I always have lots of apps open, and it's been working great. This has been doing a better job than my M1 MacBook Pro did. Because I used to have problems with that all the time where it would hit RAM limits and stuff. And I had 16 gigabytes of RAM on that machine. So I think maybe Apple's done some work optimizing macOS there.
Maybe. I had that happen for the first time ever the other day, and it was because Calendar was taking a terabyte of memory.
Yep.
I got 64 gigs of the stuff. What are you doing?
But I also, I have 16 gigabytes of memory on my M1 iMac, and I never have that problem here. It seemed to be just on that MacBook Pro. I had some kind of memory leak issue, I think.
The thing about the thinness in particular, there was that article we talked about it last week where Apple says they designed the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air at the same time. They obviously look that way, right? It's the same kind of design language, and I'm actually surprised at how well that design language translated to a much thinner machine. I think it looks great. What I like about the current lineup, discounting the M2 13-inch MacBook Pro, because that machine's just an oddball. But if you look at the Pros, the real MacBook Pros, and this new Air, Apple seems content again to let the consumer machine be consumery and let the Pro machine be what pros want and need. And in the, let's call it the USB-C Touch Bar era, from 2015, 2016 up till now, really the differences between the Air and the Pro weren't that important. Right? Okay, you had more ports, you had the touch bar, and they were faster, right? They were more powerful. But now you have the Pro with ports and features that aren't on the consumer machine, and Apple seems fine with that, with the differences. And I think that's good because it actually gives people better options, right? When you're looking, we talked about this a ton during this time period, but if you were looking to buy a consumery notebook 4 years ago, it's you have the MacBook and you had the MacBook Air, which is old, and then you have the 13-inch MacBook Pro with no touch bar, dubbed the Escape. It was a confusing mess, and the lines between what this machine is and what this other machine isn't weren't always clear. I like now that they are clear, and I think the thinness is part of it, right? It's, you're trading performance and you're trading some ports, but this machine is cheaper and it's thinner and lighter. And if those are the things you care about and you don't care about the other stuff so much, the Air is a clearer win than it was before. And I find that to be pretty refreshing when thinking about this product line and talking about it with people, even giving advice to people trying to buy something. I feel it's pretty clear. There's sort of these two paths you can take. You either get the really good consumer machine, and there's some awesome pro machines if that's what you need. I think all that's much better than the situation we were in a few years ago.
I mean, I think it's becoming clearer, right? That obviously the price part isn't yet, but we've seen this before where new products enter the lineup and they're state of the art and they're more expensive, and it takes some time for that to change. Like, I think the real clear one for a lot of us is the first Retina MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Which was really expensive compared to the others, and there was a big gap between that, and that lasted for a while, but it ended up eventually getting weeded out. And like, we're going to get there, you know? It's like similarly, like you can't get any other size of non-new MacBook Pro. There's only one of them, right? The 13. And that's going to go away eventually. And eventually, the MacBook Air is going to go away. And we'll end up with just this design. But it will take a few years or whatever, for whatever reasons that might be. But like, this is an expensive computer.
Yeah, it's not a $1,000 laptop. It's for a decent one, a $1,400 or $1,600 laptop.
Yeah, I did have like a thought, because I was looking at, if I price one of these out, what will it cost me for what I want? And it's like £2,100.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, things were cheaper when I was buying iOS devices. Right? But I did have the thought today, though, of in the long run, I think I'll win, because I was spending like £1,000 a year on a new iPad.
Yeah.
But I won't update these Macs for years, would be my expectation, because I would feel the need to have the newest iPad because it would have significant new features every year, right?
At least hardware features.
Yes, up until a certain point, right? Which is why, like, I didn't update some of my iPad. Like, one of my iPad Pros, I was still running the 2018 version, like the 11-inch, which I was using frequently, but I just hadn't updated it because there wasn't a particular need to. And I figure in the Mac line, all the new stuff is happening right now, and then it's going to be years before there's something that would make me want to upgrade, is my expectation of these machines. Because, like, new chips isn't it. Like, when they update the MacBook Pro, if they update the MacBook Pro this year with an M2 Pro, I don't need that.
No.
Like, I don't need it because my M1 Pro is so incredibly powerful. So, like, I think, in the long run, that I would end up probably making it back again in that sense. Or, like, it would, like, amortize over many years.
Sure. That's a good business term. That's good.
So, like, I've been in a bit of, like, unsure about my computer situation at the studio since I got the studio, because things just kept changing around me, from like COVID to computers that I was using to what travel meant and all that kind of stuff.
You didn't expect Apple to drop a yellow iMac and it blew up everything.
Yeah. But really, like, the yellow iMac, I bought the yellow iMac as like a trophy of a personal goal, which was to actually get like, some Apple hardware on before available to the general public.
So let me ask you this. So if you bought that iMac partially for that, is that a machine that you keep forever as like a collection item?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I was going to say, if you don't, you need to ship it to me and I'll keep it here for you.
That could also be an option if I don't want to keep it around. Then maybe you could take it.
It could be on loan for Myke Hurley.
I'll send it with a little plaque that you can put next to it. But my expectation is I'll keep this. So here's what I'm thinking right now is the iMac will go home and become a home computer with like multiple people having an account on it and stuff, like these machines are supposed to, but in a way that I have never had a computer before. Yeah.
I mean, you could set it up where like you and Adina can both log into it.
Yeah.
You could have photos downloaded to it. You could have it as backups, like a home computer. It's a good thing.
Like an actual home computer that never turns off, right? Like it just goes to sleep or whatever. And
you could put it in a desk called the computer desk. Did you have those growing up? We had one.
Oh, yeah.
The computer desk, and it had like a place for the tower.
I had a computer desk with a bed on the top.
What?
So it was like a bunk bed.
Okay.
But the bottom bunk was a computer desk.
I was very confused for a second. I was like, why is there a bed on the desk?
And you heat the bed with the computer. And So what I'm thinking is this goes home.
Yeah.
Where it was always eventually going to go. Mm-hmm. My MacBook Pro comes to this desk, and it is effectively at that point a desktop computer.
Sure.
And then the MacBook Air takes the "this is my computer" mantle.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And I become two laptops will be my computers. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking.
The multi MacBook lifestyle.
Because then I have the flexibility, depending on the type of trip that I take, as to which laptop I take. Right? If I'm going to be recording a bunch of shows while traveling, then I can take the MacBook Pro. And then I have the most power with me at all times, crank through things quickly.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to be doing that, I can take the MacBook Air. Mm-hmm. But then also the MacBook Air moves backwards and forwards with me all the time. So I'm not settled on this. I put an order in for a MacBook Air while I decide, because I wouldn't get it for like 6 or 7 weeks.
Right.
So, but I'm thinking about it. I only have this MacBook Air from Apple for like 2 more weeks or something. It was a pretty short loan because they're in high demand. So I'm working it out, but I think
you're gonna sell it.
It's like crystallizing. Yeah, they're gonna flip it. We haven't got the space for these things. You know, people need them.
That's right. I think your plan makes a lot of sense, and I think that the MacBook Pro being sort of the desktop, like where work gets done, I think that'd be pretty sweet.
The only thing that bothers me is I don't have a computer to sell to make some of the money back. So every time I update a Mac in my lineup, I have something to sell, and it pays at least 50% of the price.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But this MacBook Air, I have nothing. I have no computers to sell to help fund it, which is bugging me because it's a lot of money.
The one we ordered gets here. It was supposed to be here Friday, but now it's scheduled for Tuesday, I think. So it'll be be next week, and it's a silver one, basically loaded except for the high-end GPU. That'll be Mary's machine.
Are you going to spend any time with it first, or are you just going to set it up? Okay.
No, I'm going to spend a couple weeks with it. I'm running Ventura on my MacBook Pro. I don't think I'm going to migrate. I think I'm just going to set up like some basic stuff on it and use it around the house. And I plan on writing a review for 512, and then I will do the migration dance around from her M1 MacBook Air to this one and set it up for her. And honestly, I think I'm going to, because she uses it in one of those, I think 12 South makes it the Book Arc. Is that what it's called? It's like a curvy piece of aluminum, and it sits closed.
Yeah, I just bought one today because I was wanting to get one for a while, and they have now updated, like made a new insert.
Oh, good.
For the new size of MacBook Pro. So I actually just bought a Book Arc today, so the 12 South thing.
Oh yeah, there you go. Looking on their site right now. So I think this new MacBook Air will probably just fit in it. If it doesn't, I mean, I think it'll be okay. And I'm not,
They also said on their website that they are going to make a new insert for that one, though.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that then.
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave it using USB because she has a ultrafine 4K, the small one. Right now, her MacBook Air charges from it. I'm gonna leave all that the same and just put the MagSafe just like in her desk drawer. So if she needs to use it elsewhere, she can just take MagSafe with her. But I'm just gonna drop it right in, and I think if I did it without telling her, I'm not sure she'd even notice a difference for a while because that laptop stays docked 95% of the time. I mean, she could use it. In fact, when the M1 iMacs came out, I asked her, I was like, these look really cool. Is this something that you want to switch to? Because like you have a MacBook Air, but it just never uses a laptop. But she does occasionally like the flexibility of it, so I don't want to take that away from her. And that M1 has just been back there behind that display for a long time, chugging along.
Yeah, I didn't even unwrap the charger and the MagSafe cable that was in the box. It's like, it's just going to be a pain to wrap this back up again. So like, I just I don't charge my MagSafe. I have a MagSafe and it's great, but because I'm using these computers mostly at fixed positions,
right?
Like I just plug in the cable that goes to my studio display,
which charges
and I
never
charge my laptop otherwise. And if I ever need to, I already have USB-C cables all over the place. So like, if I was using it more as like a laptop, I would like have that at a desk, but I don't think that that's a good thing to do anyway. Like if you're using a laptop on a desk every day, you should have a monitor, or you should have the laptop raised and use an external keyboard and mouse. Ergonomically, that is better for you. But I'm happy that MagSafe is there. Like, I keep it in my my travel charging thing because I love it when I'm away, because I could that's when I will use it as just like a laptop on the desk, right?
Yeah.
For like a couple of days or whatever. And MagSafe's awesome for that. But otherwise, USB-C is great. I mean, maybe I would use the MagSafe more with the MacBook Air, because then I only have one USB-C port available to me. And it's not really something I think about with the MacBook Pro, where I have a bunch of them.
Yeah, that may be nice. I mean, I do basically the same thing. My MagSafe is in my backpack, and I have I forget, it's a pretty big one, pretty big USB-C charger on my desk plugged in, and like the MacBook Pro is plugged in, or sometimes I charge my iPad on it, just whatever needs to be charged. And around the house, we have quite a few, like behind the couch, I have a long Lightning and a long USB-C cable, and I can, if I'm on the couch working, I can plug my MacBook Pro into that. I'm glad they kept USB-C charging in addition to MagSafe. It's like really is like the best of all worlds, because you can charge with either one, and if you're on the Pro, you can charge from either side, which is nice in some situations to be able to charge from the right-hand side. And you do lose that with the Air, because MagSafe and both ports are on the left-hand side. So if you're, when you're setting up a MacBook Air, you have maybe fewer options exactly with placement and that sort of thing. This episode of Connected is brought to you by Trade Coffee. Michael,
Steven,
you have had the Trade Coffee experience. Tell us about it.
I'm a big fan. I took the quiz. The quiz is really easy. They just ask you a few questions, get your preferences, and they're really simple questions too. Like, so if you don't know what your preferences of coffee flavors are, it doesn't matter, because they'll ask you, hey, do you like this kind of food? Do you like this kind of food? And they'll help you narrow something down, and they send you out some coffee, and then it learns from you from there, and they keep sending you great coffees. One of the other things I love about Trade, Steve is going to tell you in a minute, but they taste test a bunch of coffees, and they keep a bunch of them in stock. So you can just go to their website if it's something that you had that you liked before, and you can buy extra bags of it, and I've been doing that recently.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about them is that they are working with roasters from around the country. They have 450 different kinds live and ready to ship every day. And you get to explore what all these independent craft roasters are doing. It helps out their small businesses. I really think the whole setup is super cool. And Trade is really confident that they're going to match you with the right coffee the first time. If they don't, you just give them your feedback, and a coffee expert will work with you to send you a brand new bag for free. You know you're going to be looked after, which is really cool. Like you said, it's just a couple of questions to get your own personalized variety of coffees delivered fresh to you as often as you like. They've delivered over 5 million bags of fresh coffee, earning more than 750,000 positive reviews. Right now, Trade is offering new subscribers a total of $30 off their first order, plus free shipping, when you go to drinktrade.com/connected. That's more than 40 cups of coffee for free. So go take the quiz, and let Trade find you a coffee you're going to love. That URL, one more time, is drinktrade.com/connected for $30 off. Our thanks to Trade for the support of the show and Relay FM.
So a couple of days ago, Apple Arcade, the Apple Arcade page in the App Store, gained a new category, a sad category.
Yeah.
Called Leaving Arcade Soon.
It's sad.
Is the name of this category. It's pretty sad. There's a total of 15 games in this Leaving Arcade Soon category. I looked through these. I have either not played or not heard of any of these games.
Me neither.
I'm not saying that I am the harbinger of what's good on Apple Arcade. I don't check Apple Arcade frequently. Still, for me, of Apple Arcade, it's like if I see people talking about a game online that's on Apple Arcade, is kind of how I find out about stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, that has always been the way I find out about new iOS games anyway. What has kind of come to light from reporting from Mac Rumors and others, there's a Twitter account that I follow called, I think it's like Killer Arcade or something like that. I'm going to find this. It's like a really good, there's a lot of these accounts that like are really good in the game space. Killer Cow is this Twitter account. And they have always done a really good job of Apple Arcade reporting right back from the beginning of Apple Arcade, that they keep track of everything. They have an Airtable, which you can go check out if you
Fancy.
want to. And they did some reporting as well, which corroborated what MacRumors had reported. That this is the end of the original 3-year deal that a bunch of developers got when Apple Arcade launched. Or like they were given this deal at launch, but maybe their game came later, but this is the end of that 3-year original deal. And so it would appear that these 15 are the 15 games from that original set of deals that Apple have decided they no longer want to renew with. So my expectation here is that these are the games that have not seen a lot of interaction or playtime or buzz about them from that original set. Now, from a developer perspective, I actually think this is pretty good because all of these developers retain the rights to these games, even in the instances, it seems, where they were made for Apple Arcade, like Apple commissioned them into existence, which is the case with some of these games, not all of them. Like just in general with Apple Arcade. Sometimes a game is being developed and Apple buys it, basically, like quote unquote buys it. Or in other cases, like Apple, like people came to Apple with an idea and Apple gave them a bunch of money like as a producer to go and make that game.
Right.
But it seems like these developers are all retaining the rights to their games. So in that instance, a couple of things can happen. They can be relaunched on the App Store or elsewhere. Like a lot of Apple Arcade games pop up on other places. They can't pop up in other mobile subscriptions or on Android in general, but they can pop up on, say, like Nintendo Switch or something, and that happens quite a bit. But now people could go ahead and do it. Hey, you could maybe get Netflix to give you money. Netflix does this now. They like, if you have a Netflix subscription, there's like a bunch of games that you can get that are like standalone games on iOS. They just did what was the name of the game that they just... There's a strategy game, Into the Breach, which is a really great game that's been on PC, I think, and now it's on iOS via the Netflix thing. It's a fantastic strategy game, Into the Breach. Really, really good. I don't know why Netflix is doing it. I know why Netflix is doing this, but I don't know what they think it's going to get for them. We'll see. But like you get it for free if you're a Netflix subscriber, so you just log in and you get access to this game. They're doing the thing that Microsoft wouldn't do, which we know like Apple wanted Microsoft to put all of their individual game titles, like all of their titles as individual games rather than just having
right.
An Xbox Game Pass app. But Netflix is, for some reason, wanted to do it this way. These are all individual games, and then you sign in with them. Because they're not cloud streaming like Microsoft would have wanted to. So I guess it maybe works a bit better for them this way. So it's good for the developers, but what's bad for consumers. If you play these Apple Arcade games, you will no longer have access to these games. And it appears that unless the developer does something, you won't get access to any saved content or like game progress. It's all going to lose. You're going to lose it if they relaunch on iOS, unless the developer does something. It is possible. I've seen this done before. You install the new app, and it takes the information from the old app. But that's got to happen before these games leave Apple Arcade. So I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe we'll see over the next number of weeks if any developers can do it quickly. But they got to do it before. I mean, I'm intrigued to see what happens. Like, do these games just delete from your phone? Like, what happens?
It's, there's a little bit of a disincentive for developers to even do that because Apple Arcade, there's no in-app purchase. And if you relaunch this as something with in-app purchase, like how do you map that over? Right? There's a lot of weird edge cases there. And this is really a good reminder that Apple Arcade apps and games, they are real apps, like they're really on your phone, you're really playing them, but in a way they're kind of like streamed content. Like these will just go away. My guess is that the icon will be like grayed out in your phone. You tap it and it'll say, this is no longer available in Apple Arcade or something. I don't think they're going to just yank them off the phone and leave people wondering what happened. But
either way, it's not great, right?
Yeah, it's a bummer to see it. I mean, at the end of the day, it is business, and if these weren't working for Apple for whatever reason, I just don't know. Like, why would Apple want to get rid of anything from Apple Arcade? Like, even if something wasn't performing well. I mean, I guess, are they paying developers to keep their games Apple Arcade only? Like,
oh yeah.
So
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
It's the bottom
My
line.
expectation is all of the other developers just got a renewal on their contract,
And these people didn't.
and like they got paid more money. Yeah, and these were the ones that didn't. So, like, of the games where they were that original 3-year, they probably just renegotiated with them and gave them more money. These are the games that Apple doesn't want to give more money to because these were probably the ones that didn't get any, that didn't get past the actual amount of engagement that Apple were looking for. Like, do you remember that report where they were looking to try and find games that were more engaging? And people thought that was going to be bad, but it seems like the quality is still maintained, but they've just broadened the amount of types of games that they'll have. Mm-hmm. But these are the ones that maybe didn't pass that. I mean, this is a shame, but it's business.
Yeah.
All of these developers, I would say, probably got a pretty good deal out of this. If you are one of these developers and you didn't, and you want to let me know, get in contact with me and you could tell me. But my expectation is a bunch of people got to make their game because of this. And the fact that Apple isn't retaining any rights, it seems, that just seems like a win. And you got to make your game, and that I'm sure that helped. I mean, maybe it's tricky for you if you were hoping to get that renewal, right? Like money-wise. But that's game development. Like, that's what it's like. This is what happens. The thing is, like, maybe it's impossible to know. This stuff comes up a lot with Xbox Game Pass and the PlayStation 3 games that they do and stuff. But, like, you may have made more money this way doing it with Apple than if you put it out there on your own. Because Apple also would have done some marketing for you, and you're in that tab for a while, especially when there weren't a lot of games there. How well would you have done without that? Like, if you were just going out there into the big bad world of trying to get people to know about your game, like, it's likely that you probably got some money. As Vidit says in the chat, and it is a good point, it is possible maybe developers didn't want to renew the contract as well. Like, it's probably a bit of both. It maybe in some cases, like, I don't know. I expect it's some of one, some of the other. I would be surprised. I mean, I don't know. Because the thing is, like, clearly Apple are offering enough money to some of these bigger companies who are keeping their games. Like, there are still some big companies that are keeping the games, but they probably got the most money anyway because they were bringing customers that are on in. But anyway, this is going to happen. This is the first time this has happened, but this is just going to keep happening. This is what it's like, and this is what this stuff is going to be like. Games rolling in and out of Game Pass, games rolling in and out of the PlayStation 3 game stuff. The Epic Game Store does this. Games roll in and out. That's what these things are all about.
Let's talk about the butterfly keyboard. Remember that?
So, yeah, I saw a lot of headlines to this today, and I'm going to include an article to the BBC, which is not a place where we'd usually link to, but they had a pretty nice summary of it. So Apple's MacBook Pro and MacBook Air keyboards with the butterfly. I don't need to tell our listeners about the butterfly keyboard. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will include a link in the show notes to a very weird episode of Upgrade where we did a dramatic retelling of the whole story. There was a class action lawsuit brought against Apple from some individuals in a bunch of states across the U.S. Apple has paid $50 million to settle this. They are claiming no wrongdoing, which is a funny thing to me. Like, $50 million is a lot of money, but hey, we didn't do anything wrong. Because basically the claim is saying that Apple knew this was happening and kept selling products. Which, I mean, is definitely true. Like, they tried to improve it, but, like, they knew this was anyway. The settlement, if it's approved and goes through, is being reviewed, could see customers receiving up to $395 if they had to replace multiple keyboards, $125 if they replace one keyboard, or $50 if they had to replace key caps on a keyboard. So I guess this is probably just US only as well, but there you go.
Probably. I think I saw something. It's not even in every state in the U.S., but
it's probably of the 8 states that levied the.
I don't think Tennessee's one of them, but you know, I'd be in for $125. I had a keyboard replaced on my 2016 MacBook Pro. The E key fell off, just completely broken. And I think Mary had a 12-inch MacBook for a while. I think it had 2 keyboards over the course of its life. So it's a bummer. I mean, this is a closed chapter now, thankfully, but it was a problem for so long, and I'm so glad we don't talk about the stupid keyboards anymore.
Yeah.
I thought about them so much for such a long time.
You sure did.
There are seemingly no new betas this week, at least as we record this, but macOS Monterey 12.5 iOS and iPadOS 15.6 and watchOS 8 point something are all out. macOS Monterey includes mostly Safari and TV app fixes.
That's the same as iOS.
Same as iOS. iOS also includes some issues with settings and like device storage. So like that screen and settings has always been kind of janky, like super slow to load. And there was apparently some issues there that it would, once it showed your device storage was full, once you got rid of stuff, it would still show it as full. So they've got that worked out. My expectation is these are the last kind of major versions of these OSs. I mean,
I thought that 15.6 would include that lockdown mode.
I thought that was coming in 16.
No, they also said it was coming to 15.
Or were they? Yeah, so then maybe there'll be a 15.7. There may be. We will see. But either way, we're definitely...
Or it's in there and they just didn't put it in the release notes.
It's that secretive.
Well, I mean, Apple does this anyway. Oh, no, it says it's coming with iOS 16. I looked at it now on the thing. You were right. I thought it was also coming to 15, but hashtag Stephen was right.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Either way, we're definitely towards the end of these OSs. I mean, we're now, probably 2 months from iOS 16?
Yeah.
Jeez. macOS may be a little bit longer than that. So yeah, we're reaching the end of this. We expected Beta 4 today, probably because these rolled out. Beta 4, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow. They may wait a week, but generally...
It could be tomorrow.
Tomorrow? I think tomorrow?
It could be. I mean, I know they've done that before. To my memory, they've done that before. Like, they go off day a little bit.
I don't think they want to wait a whole week at this point, so...
If they have one to put out there,
But generally, they don't like doing public and beta releases the same day. I think they've done this in the past where on a day that we would expect a beta, there's been a public release. So anyways, those are out. Go do your software update thing. We'll be saying goodbye to iOS 15 in Monterey soon enough, I guess. This episode of Connected is brought to you by Capital One. Have you ever hit a technical snafu while shopping online? Filling out payment fields, giving you a headache? Has your mobile banking app been down when you really needed to use it? Well, Capital One believes everyone deserves better banking. This means easier access to your money and more security while doing so. And that's why Capital One is investing in machine learning. Machine learning allows Capital One to do things like fight fraud with random forest with models that quickly detect suspicious activity and make it faster to alert federal investigators, and identify how mobile app outages happen with causal models. Keeping mobile apps up and running doesn't happen by accident. Anomaly detection and incident response help determine why app outages happen so engineers can quickly remedy them. And Capital One is speeding up online shopping with machine learning at the edge. They make shopping with virtual card numbers smoother and more secure. This technology is based on logistic regression models and running inference in the browser. It identifies payment fields, which helps make using virtual card numbers easier and faster. The potential of machine learning is massive. See how Capital One is using machine learning to create the future of banking. Search machine learning at Capital One or check out the link in the show notes. Capital One, what's in your wallet? I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit, Myke.
Okay.
I want to talk about the Apple TV. I know this is
It's my baby.
It's your baby.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the hardware and the software and kind of see what we think kind of the present and future of the Apple TV could be. So
all right.
Currently there are two models for sale. There's the Apple TV HD. It's $149 for 32 gigabytes of storage. This is the one that was originally announced in September 2015. It was the first one, like the future TV is apps. It's powered by an A8. It does come with the new Siri remote, which is good.
Now.
Thank heavens.
Yeah.
It didn't initially. I think they've changed that at some point. There's also the Apple TV 4K, which is $179 for 32 gigabytes of storage and $199 for 64 gigabytes of storage. There have actually been two generations of this. The first one was in September of 17 with an A10 Fusion, but it was updated a little over a year ago with the A12 Bionic, HDMI 2.1, the new color balance feature, high frame rate, HDR, and some other stuff. They're really expensive, what they are. We will get to that. But looking forward, there are some rumors about what future hardware could entail. Looking at an A14 with 4 gigabytes of RAM, up from the 3 that's currently in the Apple TV 4K. And then another new Siri remote is rumored. My hope and kind of assumption is that this would support Find My, like there'd be a U1 chip in it and you could find it in your couch cushions. I can't imagine them making massive changes to it so soon, and I think the remote's pretty good, so hopefully it would just be Find My support. I want to talk about the hardware first. Like, there's been a lot of discussions, including on our show, about should the Apple TV be more? Should it be a sound bar that has this in it? Should it be some sort of HomePod type thing? Like, or should they go the other way? Should it be a little dongle you plug in the back of your TV, like a Chromecast or some of the Amazon products? What do you think about that? Like, do you see their sort of current form factor and cost being the right way to go still? Or ever? Was it ever the right way to go?
Form factor, no. Cost, yes. I don't think Apple should make a stick, because they should just continue doing what they're doing, which is integrating the TV app into everywhere that will take it. Right? If you want the Apple TV experience, you can just get a Fire TV stick, or you can get a Roku or whatever, and you'll get everything you need, because all of the TV apps that you would use, say like your Netflix or whatever, it's the same on every platform basically.
Yeah.
And this way you get access to all of the content that you buy from Apple, from iTunes or whatever, in the TV app. Plus you get the ability to watch all of their like streaming shows in the TV app, and you can get that on basically any smart TV now and on everything else. So I don't think it makes any sense for them to make a smaller stick, personally. This is not Apple's world to make cheap hardware.
Yeah.
Because they never make it cheap enough. So it will only annoy people more when they make a stick and it costs $99, right? Like, I don't think it's worth them going in that direction. I think that there is something to be said for them to continue to have something like the current 4K, like the Apple TV 4K, of like, it's a box and that box has storage in it, and you can put games on it if you want to that come from Apple Arcade, right? Like, then that's the next step. And then they should have a bigger step, which is integrating a HomePod and an Apple TV into one experience.
Yeah.
With a center stage camera on the thing, and you do FaceTime calls. And so, like, I mean, genuinely, like, this is something me and Jason have spoken about a lot on Upgrade. It's like this idea of a HomePod and an Apple TV, and you put them together, and you make like a sound bar that has everything inside of it. You could put a center stage camera on it, and you could do FaceTime calls with family on the TV, and like, they should just go in that direction.
That'd be sweet.
That's what I want. That's what I want them to do, because I am a massive fan of both the Apple TV and HomePods connected to them. I have a HomePod stereo pair, like an OG HomePod stereo pair, with my Apple TV, and it's how I watch all of my television is on my Apple TV. I do not watch television in any other way. I love it. I wished everything would integrate with a TV app, because that's how I prefer to consume it. That's why we were talking about Netflix in the Pro Show, I think.
Maybe.
We were complaining about the Netflix app today in the Pro Show. This has been a very media-focused overall connected experience today. If you want to hear more about that, go to getconnectedpro.co. You'll also help me pay for a MacBook Air if you do that. So please sign up, become a member. And I wish that everything was there, including, like, Netflix really is the only major service that I use that doesn't support the TV app, and I would like that. But I really love it, and I love the sound of the HomePods. I love how easy it all connects together. I would like them to go the next part and make a soundbar, and then you could also add HomePods to that experience, and then you could have a full surround sound experience. I think it would be pretty great.
Yeah, it would be really cool to have just one thing that was like all entertainment, covered the soundbar angle, and brought some more computing into the living room with things like FaceTime. I agree with you. I think the stick idea is the wrong way to go for Apple. I felt less strongly about this before the Apple TV app and AirPlay and HomeKit came to a bunch of TVs directly. Like my LG TV has all that stuff just built into it. Like I can AirPlay directly to the TV. I can control it with HomeKit directly. Since they've broken out some of that stuff and put it on TVs directly, I feel like that kind of lets the Apple TV be more of what it is without so much pressure to bring it downstream. I mean, I would like it to be closer to the sort of $99 price point as opposed to $179 for the 4K, but that is what it is, I guess. I do think that there is some element to the Apple TV hardware that still kind of hangs on to the idea of this is going to be an app and game platform, like the storage tiers. No one really needs the 64 gigabytes, I don't think. I mean, I don't even know how much space I'm using on my 32, probably hardly any. And I wonder if some of those decisions that the Apple TV kind of operates within now are from the future of the TV as apps kind of mindset still, and they haven't been able to move past that.
Since Apple Arcade, no, they can't move past it.
Yeah, I guess not.
That's the problem. Like clearly the overall developer community decided they weren't going to make apps. It's like it's just streaming services that make apps, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get some ancillary stuff, but it's not popular. But then there's games, and the only real games that receive any attention on the Apple TV are Apple Arcade games, because Apple pay developers to do the whole experience. They want the app on the iPhone, the iPad, the Apple TV, and the Mac. And it's one of the ways that games find its way to the Mac and to the Apple TV is being part of Apple Arcade. But because they do that, they kind of can't give up the storage stuff unless they want to make Apple Arcade a quote-unquote less desirable thing.
The flip side of all of this is the software, and over its lifetime, starting in 2007, Apple's had a lot of different ideas. So in 2007, sort of the original Apple TV, which was actually basically kind of like a small Intel Mac, it basically worked like an iPod. You would sync media from iTunes across your network. It had an internal hard drive to store all of that on it. The UI was very similar to Front Row. Do you remember Front Row? That was awesome. Again, it was like a weirdo Intel Mac that ran a weird version of Mac OS X. And that was the first Apple TV, and it was out for 3 years, and it wasn't ever a huge seller. Like, I think people who were into them were really into them, but it was because it was basically an extension of iTunes, like you had to really be in that ecosystem. And in 2010, they sort of made the shift to the much smaller, like black box that we know now, no real internal storage. And this kind of version of the Apple TV was you're basically going to stream everything. So we're not syncing stuff across the network anymore. It was like a hard turn the other direction. You go to stream content from the iTunes store. You can rent content from the iTunes store. You can stream from computers in your local network. So if you had an iMac in your office and it had your media library, you could stream it across your local area network to the TV.
I think this was the first one I had.
It was probably most people's first one, because I think it was also $99. I think is when they got the big price cut.
What did it look like?
It was like the current Apple TV, but shorter.
Yeah, I had this one.
Small little black box. Yep. Mm-hmm. It ditched all the component and composite stuff that was on the first one just for HDMI. And it ran like a weirded embedded version of iOS. It wasn't really an OS in and of itself. Kind of a strange thing.
And it came with the remote that had like a click wheel and a menu button and a play pause button. That was the remote before the bad remote. And it had eventually, so there was this one, and then in 2012 there was a 1080 version. So the 2010 was 720p. With an updated UI. And in this time frame, you start to see some apps like Netflix and a couple of others. There was a YouTube app, but not really at all the way that we saw them in 2015, which is kind of the beginning of the current era of tvOS. tvOS got its own name.
the future of TV as apps was the sentence. You know, it was streaming, games, plus a bunch of regular apps, which that category just didn't ever do anything. Like
we're talking shopping
and
home buying. These were two of the things they thought people were going to do.
Just blast through Zillow on your Apple TV.
Yep, because for some reason you wouldn't just do that on your iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was you know, this was the one of 2 times that Apple have tried to make the iPhone again. They did it here, and they did it with the Apple Watch. Of like, the Apple Watch can do everything, rather than and they learned with the Apple Watch faster, I think, of like, we're going to focus on what this thing is best at.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
Like, yeah, which is like, it's going to do the things, and we're going to focus, and we're going to continue to build the device around that. And they just never did that with the Apple TV. And I mean, I feel like I know why, right? I bet they sell way more Apple Watches than they do Apple TVs, and they just learned faster and focused and doubled down on what makes that product a good one.
Yeah, I think so. And even in the time since 2015, I think we've seen even more of that sort of coming into focus of what this is. They've sort of dropped the regular app thing. Apple Arcade is obviously a component that wasn't there. But we've seen more and more the TV app kind of take over the experience. And most of your content providers can plug into that. Netflix. But
well, they all can.
Yes, some of them choose not to.
And I think it's for perfectly fair reasons that Netflix want what they want. Like, I think Apple and Netflix need to like come together and just work this out. And I think Apple need to give Netflix a little bit more of what they want. Netflix need to give Apple a little bit more of what they want.
Mm-hmm.
This is like what Apple and Amazon did. And that's how Amazon got added to the TV app. They settled a bunch of business, and this is one of the things that came out of it.
But we've seen that TV app sort of take over everything. Of course, now it's also on iOS and the Mac and everything else. And I think where they are now, software-wise, is actually pretty good. Like, yeah, I'd love to see Netflix and others in that system. But I feel like overall, we're in a better place with the Apple TV than we've ever been software-wise. But I think there are still things they could do. Like, I mean, you mentioned Netflix. I think that's the top of the list for everybody. I think you spoke about this, I think, on App Stories with Federico and John, but bringing widgets to the TV app would be pretty sweet. You know, you already have some of that kind of. There's a control center, and there's like HomeKit integration where you can see, like, if you have a camera hooked up to HomeKit, it can show you a preview, and if a scene changes in your home, you get a little notification. Like, they could do more, I think, to integrate the TV with the rest of the house and the rest of the sort of other stuff you have in your life. The discussion about FaceTime and other things earlier, I think, also related to this. But I think in terms of it's a box you plug into your TV, the software is better than it's ever been. Even if it's a bit static, I think they've sort of leveled off, and I don't really foresee any like big, massive changes again, unless the industry changes out from underneath them. I feel like they've kind of finally settled on this is what this thing is, and it works well enough for most people.
Yeah, there are little bits and bobs like that I wish they would do, but I agree with you by and large. They've kind of hit the sweet spot.
If you want to find links to stuff we spoke about, head on over to the website, relay.fm/connected/407. If you would like to have a longer ad-free version of the show each and every week, there's some buttons there on that page at the top. You can join and get Connected Pro. We have monthly and annual plans, and all Relay FM memberships come with a bunch of goodies, annual specials from across all of our shows, access to our members-only Discord, some cool newsletter stuff, and a bunch more. So go check that out. If you have feedback or follow-up, there's an email link on that page as well, or you can find us all on Twitter. Myke is there as IMYKE, and Myke is the host of a bunch of other shows here on Relay FM. Our friend Federico is not with us today, but you can find him on Twitter at Viticci, VITICCI. You can find me on Twitter as ISMH, and I write over at 512pixels.net. And I'd love for you to go check out my Kickstarter. There's a link in the show notes. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for making the show possible: Squarespace, Trade, and Capital One. Until next time, Myke, say goodbye.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.